put up here the word life goals. Life goals. Who's the oldest person in the room? BJ, how old are you? You still have a life goal, right? Does everybody have a life goal?
Absolutely.
You do? Is it written down? Have you written it down? Your life goal. Have you written down the actual steps it takes to get there? So I'll kind of equate it to a building. Has anybody built a house before? You don't go in and just start pouring concrete and throwing up studs, do you? No. First, you get a picture, right? This is the picture of the house that I'm going to build. This is what I want it to look like. This is what I want my life to look like. And so many of us just are kind of haphazard about goals. It's easy to say, okay, my goal this month is to sell 15 cars and do $30,000 in gross and have a 900 CSI score. But how does that fit into everything else, the actual life goal? So I start by recommending, which is number one, is to write a mission statement. How many of you guys have spouses or life partners, girlfriends, people you know you're going to be with for a long time? The point is you get them, and the two of you together start determining what your life goals are. Financial, spiritual, family. Now, a lot of the goals that are easier to map out, like a building, are going to be financial, right? How many of you guys have financial goals? Now, normally when I ask about your financial goals, what is the answer I get? I want financial freedom. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to retire at 70, 60, 55, whatever the number is. And then I'll ask the next question. Well, what number is that? What number is that? What number is financial security? What number is comfortable? What number is retiring at age 65? Tell me what number that is. Because if you don't know the number, you're not able to work backwards to figure out where you're at now on how to get there. Because when you lay out this mission statement, it's going to basically say, I'm going to retire at age 65. I am going to be financially free. What does financial freedom mean? Does that mean you don't owe anybody? Does that mean you have reoccurring revenue coming in without having to work? But it's all going to start with the top. The ultimate goal. And I'll tell you a story about September 5th, 1994. As I told you, this is the day everything became clear. I think it was about 6 or 7 days after that, the owner, which would be like me, the owner comes into Gatorland Toyota. He was an absentee owner. And he comes into Gatorland Toyota, and I sit down in front of him. He actually gives me an audience. I sit down in front of him. And I said, hey, Mr. Gettle. I said, I just want you to know that I'm going to own a Toyota dealership one day. Mission statement, in stamp. That's what I'm going to do. He was very courteous, and he was very gracious, but he said, I think you need to learn how to sell cars first. That was what he told me. He said, I think you need to learn how to sell cars first. But the mission statement was set in stone. So at that particular point, after the mission statement was made, now it's time to start being the architect. Now, what does an architect do? He lays out plans, right? He says, okay, in order to build this house, to get to your mission, to be where you want to be, I want to retire at age 65, I want to be financially free. He starts to go ahead and draw out what it actually takes to build that house. You now then have to become the architect of what your life goal is. You have to say, okay, I need to do this step, I need to do this step, I need to do this step. And so I knew basically how you got from being a salesperson to owning a dealership. I may not have known every single bolt and nut and every wire that had to go where. I didn't know how all that worked, but I knew basically I had to lay a foundation, had to put the studs up, put the roof on, put the sides on, and finish the inside of the house. I knew that's how it worked, so I started drawing it out. And that's what you have to do. And that's why I put right here, number 2. If you are not a master of the ultimate, you are going to be a slave to the immediate. And this is why your partner, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, they need to be involved in this. Because how many times have you been trying to get towards a goal and they're like, well, baby, I need a new car. Or we need a new TV. Or I don't like this house. I want to upgrade. Anybody had that experience? Okay. This is why you have to design the mission statement together. Together. Or you just need one that does everything you say. So you either need one that's going to do everything you say, or you're going to have to design this mission statement together. Because when they say, hey, baby, I need a new car, or I want a better house, or I want a new TV, or we need new living room furniture, or I want to go to Disney World, or whatever they say, you're going to be able to point and say, come on, we did this together. We know what the house looks like. We drew out the plans together. We knew how we were going to get there. So you lay down the mission statement. This is where I'm going to go. Then you start drawing the plans of how you're actually going to get there from where you're at right now. By years. Use the computer. The internet is a valuable source. I didn't have this back then. It can tell you basically this amount of money is going to equal X over this amount of time with this amount of interest rate, with this amount of interest, saving this much money per month, right? I mean, it's a very simple formula. You just plug it in the computer. It tells you what you need to do. But you have to lay out the mission statement with someone who's going to be involved in the mission statement. Then you have to draw out the plans exactly on how to get there. Then you have to remember this. You know what the ultimate is. That's the mission statement. You don't have to be a slave to the immediate anymore. You're not going to get knocked off center real easily because you know where you're going. No, you know what? Based on the plans that we laid out, we're getting a TV in 2028. So Super Bowl 2028, that's going to be a great party because we're going to have a new TV. And it goes into this, I have two quotes that I live by. Only two. And this is one of the ones that I live by. The difference between a success and a failure is that a failure is going to give up what they want most for what they want at the moment. Now, I highlight this right here. All three of those things are the same thing. Most, the ultimate, your mission statement. A failure gives up what he wants most for what he wants at the moment. We've all been guilty of it, right? We've all been guilty of that. So, we go ahead, we decide, here's our mission statement. This is where I go. This is where I want to be. I mean, this may not even be the career that's built into the architecture design that you make. Does anybody have, this doesn't have anything to do with your job, by the way. Does anybody have a different job they really wish they were doing? You're afraid to raise your hand? You want to be a nightclub operator.
I'm in the ministry, so I'm a pastor. My dream is to be a full-time pastor.
Full-time pastor? Okay. You want to be a manager? Okay, perfect. So you want to be in the car business, you want to be a manager. Okay. It's easy to design that plan. It's easy to design that plan. It's easy to design your plan. It's easy to design your plan. I understand, but it's easy to design those plans, but you got to say, okay, what am I doing here right now? How does that fit into where I'm going? The good thing is almost anywhere you want to go is going to require what?
Okay.
Capital. Capital. And the easiest way to get capital without going and borrowing it is to earn it. And the great thing about the car business is you can pretty much generate capital at will. I've been teaching you how you can generate more capital yourself. So, that last phone call you have to make that you don't feel like making, showing up at 7:45 so you can do the lot walk, making the note card so that I could study the closes, all the things that I've taught you today that's like, that's easy to do, but it's easy not to do. Like I said, selling cars is easy. It's just going to be hard work. And as long as you have the ultimate, you can look at it and say, okay, I'll make that one more phone call, because that's going to create more capital to be able to become, a reverend in my own church. It's going to create more capital for me to be able to get to what my dream is. So, and I wrote this one down here because this is pretty much, it's not one of my favorite quotes, but I can tell you this pretty much describes my life up to this point. Bite off more than you can chew and chew as fast as you can. You are actually sitting right now in a demonstration of someone biting off more than they can chew and chewing as fast as they can. I gave you the story. We almost lost the company because I built this monstrosity right before the bottom fell out of the market. And when I said the bottom fell out, I mean, you're going from selling 200 cars a month down to 100. But I chewed as fast as I can. Had a couple of lucky breaks, but we kept chewing. I've bet the farm 4 times. 4 times in my life, I've bet the farm. And what I mean bet the farm, I mean everything. Hawked it all. I don't plan on doing that anymore because I got to make sure there's a life that you guys can, a job you guys can continue to have. But yes, sir.
What were you uber confident in when you decided to bet on Motivational?
You really want the answer?
Yes.
Yourself.
Me. Well, I was just confident that if I took that gamble, I would figure it out. When you're building this architectural plan, and when we go over tomorrow the magic of compounding interest, you'll see how that works. Because like I said, the things that you're going to want to accomplish are going to require capital. And most people get discouraged about capital early on because it doesn't multiply quickly. It's not the penny doubled every day scenario. It's not how compounding interest works. It's almost like geological pressure. I mean, how long does it take for a diamond to actually get made? I mean, it's centuries, isn't it? I mean, compounding interest is similar. But by the very end, I mean, it turns into something really special. So, when you're building your life goals, and we'll talk about money and how to work on that, but figure out, why am I selling cars? How does it fit into the overall plan of what I want to accomplish? Anybody in here under 40? Nearly everybody, right? You have your whole life ahead of you, pretty much. This is the time to start doing that. The best time, of course, is in your early 20s, but most of us don't have that opportunity. So you need to go ahead with your partner, build out your mission statement. Do you have one? Are you currently a preacher? Okay, do you have a church? Do you guys have a mission statement? Okay, so with that mission statement, every time the church, or you as a human being, a company, we have the same thing, when you're going to make a decision, do you make absolutely sure that it aligns with the mission statement? You have to, right? Like there's no other choice. And that's how your goals have to be. When you make any decision, it needs to be based on the architectural plans you drew out for your life to get to the ultimate goal. And every decision you're going to make, you're going to have to hold up to that mission statement. And you're going to say, okay, does this decision fit? Because if it doesn't fit, what does it mean? Throw it out. Move on. Because there's really only 1% of the crap you think about that even really matters. 1% of the things you do actually matter. And if you could take that to expand to 2% of the things you do, you just doubled your productivity. 3% tripled your productivity. Think about all the useless things throughout a day that we kind of do. I've actually taken on this personal mission of trying to stay away from my telephone. I actually try to set it somewhere and do whatever I need to do without the phone even being nearby me. Is it almost like a magnet? It's like a magnet, right? It does what? It talks to you? Well, it's a phone, I would hope so. But anytime you make a decision, just make sure that it matches up with the mission statement. Does anybody in the room even know what their mission statement is? Like literally. Like you told me you want to become a manager, right? Why? Where does that ultimately go? Ultimately go? Where do you really want to be?
Really, eventually, when I own a dealership.
Okay. Have you drawn the map? No? Anybody else? Somebody else said they knew what they wanted. What is your ultimate goal? Own your own barbershop. Does that take this? Okay. So how many cars a month is it going to take to own your own barbershop? How many months? How much gross? How much is Uncle Sam going to take? He better not take all of it. I hope he doesn't take all of it. You see my point, though? That's how you start drawing the plans of the house. I want to own my own barbershop. This is my ultimate goal. This is where I want to go. You married?
No.
Girlfriend? Fiance? Live in?
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay. Would you say that? Okay. So then you guys design the plan. This is how she contributes. This is how you contribute, and you follow it. And then every decision you make, you hold it up to that. Is this going to be a barbershop? Is this going to be a barbershop? You're almost going to get sick of it. You're going to do it so many times. Because when I made that decision that, hey, I'm going to own a Toyota dealership, I knew that every single decision had to follow that. Every single one. You know, go back to my father. What I was going to tell you is my father helped me, kind of goes to your scenario, helped me twice. 2 times in my career, my father helped me. Besides giving me a wealth of knowledge, which is more helpful than any of the money he helped me with. So when I bought in to be a partner at Thomasville Toyota, he loaned me $85,000. Now I had the rest of it, but he loaned me $85,000 because that's what it took to get in. So I borrowed $85,000 from my dad. 6 months later, I paid it back. And then when I bought Brunswick Toyota with Southeast Toyota, the second year, I was able to make additional purchase of the company because they did help me buy it, so I had to pay them off. And he loaned me $150,000, which I paid that back in a year. So going on to your generational wealth scenario, he did help me twice to be able to get here. And then the other thing on this is get a mentor. Get somebody to help you keep you on your path. Once you decide where you want to go, once you build the plans, draw out the architecture, then you have to get a mentor because somebody has to hold you accountable.
That's the hardest thing to do.
Because we're not always going to be perfectly accountable to ourselves. And I'll give you an example of that and then we'll head out. How many of you have said, I'm going to go on a diet? I'm going to wake up early. I'm not going to look at my cell phone. You said these things? Right? And then if you don't have an accountability coach, what happens? You fall off the wagon, right? So a mentor, once you get this down, and normally you want your mentor to have done what it is you want to do. So you want to have a mentor who started out cutting hair, who then owns his own barbershop. That's going to be your mentor. Say, here's what it is, and then you have to check in with them. And they hold you accountable to those goals. Because you have to have somebody to hold you accountable. You just do. That's how life works. And that's the other reason why you bring your spouse in.